Okay, so let's take the opening calls on today's Nigeria's market space. Let's check in with the fixed income space first with Ajibola Era Phillips, who is ahead of the FX trading at FBN Quest Merchant Bank, is joining us live from the FMDQ exchange place. Ajibola, it's good to see you again. Good morning.
Morning, Russell. Good to be here.
Great to see you. Yesterday, I know you're in charge of FX at FBN Quest, but again, when I see certain yield movement at the treasury space, I get tickled. So this is it, 9.95% yesterday for treasuries maturing 29th of August this year. A few days ago, 2-3 days ago, I was saying, well, perhaps we're going to have a single digit this week. Is this it? This is it?
Well, no, not quite. But I mean, we'll still see these levels for the short-term maturities, and that's just because of the prevailing market liquidity in the market. Market is still relatively liquid, so the treasury bill space has been really active with yields dropping. Like you mentioned, the short term of the curve dropped to about 9.85, while the mean end of the curve dropped to about 11.5. There's been a bit of buying pressure, and that's just because there's been a lack of HOMO issuance thus far. And then there's a PMA this week. There's about 17 billion that is maturing this week, where we expect that the same amount will be rolled over. Don't expect that there will be a different, so much changes in the PMA, just because the maturities on offer are already trading in the secondary market. So expect that they would be issued at the same levels that they were issued at the previous PMA.
Yesterday's treasury auction, what was your take on the results?
Interesting. Pretty much where market really expected, really. There's not much difference. The treasury bills in the whole of the fixed income market space, the treasury bills has been, and that's just because of the prevailing money market liquidity. People are, locking in at the short end of the curve as against going on the bond market. The bond market, on the other hand, has been relatively quiet. Activity has been really dominated at the 2028 maturities, and most of the demand has come from non-bank, so PFAs and insurance companies. There's an auction for the bond next week, about 100 billion on offer. Yields might drop slightly higher at that bond auction, and that's just because the current yields are currently above the auction levels.
Talk to us about the I&E window. Where is the FX trading as we speak? I know it's Tuesday. We just started getting the week started.
I&E is still relatively this big. Well, yesterday, let me speak about yesterday. Yesterday, there were a couple of sellers in the market. So market was really liquid. I mixed a bit of weak demand from the local corporates. There was a bit of supply from options and locals. Rates were around 360 to 360.5 on the offer, which is really kind of soft because with huge demand, rates really drops, with huge supply, rate really drops to about 360 level. Total amount traded yesterday on turnover terms was about $200 million, between a low of about 357.5 and a high of 361.5. So market has really resisted going above that 360.5 level for interbank trades, and that's just because there's really liquidity in the market as of now.
Well, where's the liquidity coming from, aside to the FX reserves? Who else is bringing in money?
I mean, so talking to some FPIs, they still see, as long as we're able to offer above 12% on the long end of the curve, that's still interesting. So they will still see some flows from FPIs here and there. And then again, the point to the relative stability in our FX market, the I&E market being relatively stable, as well as our healthy reserves, at least thus far. We have about 13 months import cover, but if we had services to it, it's about 8 months import cover. And then you see that the oil prices have been relatively stable around this level. So all of that, still interests the FPI that have been coming. I mean, not in large droves like we've seen post-election, but in little trickles, as long as we stay above 12% on the long end of the curve.
Any idea how we're going to finish off the week?
The PMA, we don't expect there will be any changes really. With the level in the secondary market right now, with the buying pressure, I expect that by the time CBN issues HOMO, if CBN issues HOMO later in the week, then we might see that yields might spike up a little bit because the HOMO rates are quite, are relatively higher than the current secondary market level. For the bond market, it's still going to be relatively quiet. Interest has really been on the 2020s, as well as other long-term yield securities such as the promissory notes, around 13% levels.
So any one word about the Naira bond for this month, for June, on the DMO?
Yeah, for the DMO for the next week auction. Actually, I think it depends. I mean, there's still a bit of time what happens in the secondary market, but based off today, we might be expecting a bit of yields inches slightly higher by the time that debuts next week. That's just because current market levels are slightly above the auction levels that were debuted last week at the last month auction.
Any idea how much the debt office will be throwing on the street, looking at the calendar?
100 billion in total. That's 40 billion for the 5-year, 30 billion for the other two maturities.
Okay, you folks can pick that up. Not so much.
Thank you.
You folks can pick that up at FBN Quest Merchant Bank. You guys can.
Absolutely.
You folks can pick that up. 100 billion. That's a small thing.
I agree with you.
I know. You guys have the money. FBN Capital. You folks are one of the biggest fund managers, according to the latest SEC report. So you folks have a deep pocket. Okay, so we're done and dusted. Thank you. Ajibola Ero Phillips, who is the head of FX trading at FBN Quest Merchant Bank. So the Central Bank of Nigeria says it was false reports put out a few days ago by Reuters, quoting recent World Investment Report 2019, stating Nigeria's foreign direct investment falls over 40% last year. The financial regulator, in a statement released late yesterday evening, says although it is not wasn't a privy to the methodology used to arrive at that figure, the central bank says available records that it has shows a significant increase in foreign direct investment in Nigeria during the period of 2018. The central bank went on to add that last year, total capital inflows into Nigeria stood at $19.07 billion, out of which FDIs accounted for $7.78 billion. That's about 20.18% of total foreign inflows. The regulator added that Nigeria continued to enjoy capital flows due to the prevailing macroeconomic environment and sustained investors' confidence in the economy. Meantime, the International Finance Corporation and its asset management company says they're planning to sell off the about 14.1% equity they hold in the Pan-African lender headquartered in the Togolese capital, Lomé. Ecobank Transnational Incorporated PSC, listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the BRVM in Abidjan, and the Ghana Stock Exchange. The completion of the 14.1% equity is expected to be done in the coming months, but subject to due diligence, internal and regulatory approvals. Meantime, Dangote Cement says it's planning to set up a new export facilities of about 8 million metric tons in Lagos and in Port Harcourt before the end of this year. The company says it's looking to attract $700 million into the economy via these export facilities and create more jobs. Dangote Group Chief Executive Officer Joseph Makoju says the new export terminals are a priority for the cement maker in order to replace non-African imports in Cameroon and foreign exchange and increase utilization of its Nigerian plants. Let's leave it there for today, everyone. I'll see you again tomorrow. Have a great day.